Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Average Joes. I'm Joseph St. John. I have about 30 years of law enforcement experience. And my partner today, as always, is Mr. Robert Baker. Tell him a little bit about yourself.
Attorney in Michigan. I have been for about 25 years, do a lot of criminal defense and litigation and trials. So bring a lot to the table.
Last episode, we talked about Alice Kalom, and we're going to kind of finish up on that one. Turn it over to you. I know you got a couple things you want to say, but what happens after Alice is actually setting up what the next episode is going to be, and it is a trip to California.
That is true.
And it changes perspective. If you've been watching this for a while, we've got several episodes and we've tried to be in depth with it. And we've spoken a lot about differences and similarities and talked about a lot of cultural things, but a difference is about to occur that kind of drags all of this together and makes you wonder about the what ifs. So tell us a little bit. You said you got a couple things you want to say, then let's get into that trip to California for Collins.
Yeah, only to stage what's going on. So this is the sixth murder in this area. We tied in an Iowa State murder, which we thought was very similar to the Mixer murder, which is the third murder in the scheme of the Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area murders. And the MO or the way that the murders were done are different in all of them. And we have gone down the rabbit hole on several of them. And the violence has increased, the brutality has increased, the succession of them as far as time frame in between has increased. And now in the past, and I forget what we said, the last 8 months or whatever, there had been like five murders.
They have picked up, and they have intensified in every level. They've intensified by the amount of violence, and they're now coming much quicker.
And it's going to go into bizarro land after this next one. We're going to do the California one next, which is where John Norman Collins and a compadre of his named Andrew Manuel steal this camper and Heidios to California, which is 2,400 miles away from Michigan. And I suspect, we don't have proof of it, but there's probably murders on the way and coming back. But there's definitely one in California, which we will go in depth on. But the Manuel is not looked at hard for this murder. And
No. They seem to be, the FBI got involved in it. They seem to be more worried. What they basically did was buy a travel trailer.
Rented
with a bad check.
Yes, from somebody else.
Is a bad check. Norman Collins is a con man. So he wrote a bad check. But if you would, with any reading materials we have and resource materials we've had, the FBI is now involved. There is another murder in California, and they seem to be very upset that this travel trailer was removed with a bad check. And I will say this, and without getting too lost on it, I will say this, that everything when I first started researching this and reading about it, however you want to phrase it, that might be the most stunning thing, is this whole thing with not really looking at him, which if you've been watching this show, you know that both Robert and I have grave concerns that they really didn't look too closely at his friends.
Yeah.
At any time. And maybe there's something there, maybe somebody knows better than I do. We've tried to make contact. We've reached out to people. Yeah. I think that, we have not had a lot of success, or they'd be on our show, or I tell you. Exactly. But we've tried. But I think that if you looked at this as history, and I don't want to ever de-emphasize the victims, and I think we do a good job of not de-emphasizing the victim. Mm-hmm. But if you were going to look at this as a historical case of crime and of a murder investigation, I am still pretty dumbfounded that they did not look closer at his friends to put him out.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's where the bizarro land comes in. Okay. So this guy named Peter Herkos, who's a psychic, is going to be brought in on this thing. So I believe Alice Kalom's murder was early June. Okay. And then Roxy Ann Phillips is the one from California, and she is killed, or she disappears on June the 30th. Okay. So that's only 2 to 3 weeks away from that murder. And then it's in California. And then Karen Sue Beineman, who is the final murder in the Michigan murder scheme, she disappears and dies somewhere around the middle of July. So that is the sequence of events. And we're going to head for the Keystone Cops land aspect of what Mr. Harvey, Sheriff Harvey did. And I'm not dogging him for it, but
I think if it had worked, he would have been a genius.
Yeah.
That's the one thing when you take risks, and I'm not going to Keystone Cop him, but I am going to say you took a calculated risk.
Yeah.
And here's the problem with the risk. If you win, it is great. If you are to lose, you will be criticized. And
what also happens in the interim, and I don't know exactly, I don't have a date for it, but they set up this task force. Okay. This is after Alice Kalom's murder and right before Karen Sue Beineman's murder, but it is after Roxy Ann Phillips' murder out in California. So they set up this task force, and they finally, after 6 bodies have dropped, get all of the jurisdictions together and put them under one leadership, which I believe was the Michigan State Police. And then after Karen Sue Beineman disappears, then the governor of Michigan steps up and says, hey, they put somebody in charge, saying, hey, y'all aren't playing right together. And then in the Kalom murder, Kalom's boyfriend was really brutalized by 3 or 4 different law enforcement entities. If you remember, Joe, do you remember that part?
Yeah, there were several. I think even when he talked about it later, he just felt that he was violated on it.
Yeah, he really did. And he lost friends over it because it was publicized. And as we say in almost every episode, the boyfriend or significant other is always looked at first.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true.
It is.
But at the same time, with that being true, I can understand his harsh feelings about it.
Right.
I really can. So I don't want to make it slight of him.
Right. So this is the postscript for Alice Kalom, and like we said in the last one, she was a University of Michigan student. She was shot twice in the head, brutally stabbed, raped, and it. In one of the books, I was just listening to it before we came on here. It's saying, well, an MO is developing. I'm like, I don't know what, not sure that's exactly true.
Yeah. I don't even know if in Collins's case, he is organized. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I can say that he is semi-planned, but I'm not even willing to say that he planned everything out like that day that was going to happen.
It seems as though, it seems like most of the victims were victims of opportunity.
Right. I don't want to make him sound like he's total chaos, but I think this whole, I'm developing an MO and I'm, following these patterns. I don't know that. And
remember, he was a crime or a law enforcement buff. So I think he was changing in order to not be noticed that he was developing an MO. And the first victim, her hands and feet were hacked off, and the body was moved several times. And there was different things throughout each individual murder that is kind of adding up to somebody who's a crime buff and who's changing their MO. Was it BTK that did that also? I forget who. There's several different.
There's several where they would change up, or I don't know if anybody was as calculating as what I think John Norman Collins allegedly did, if you blame him for all these, moving the jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Because that really did. I can't emphasize enough that that's a problem.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, that's kind of all I had, I think, other than, so there is going to be, Sheriff Harvey's going to have his hands full for a minute because there's a riot that occurs because of some rent. And that seemed to be the 60s, right? So,
yeah. I think that, to kind of move on with this one, is that for those who have been watching us, okay, for the time that we've been doing this, we've had concerns about other people being involved. There was a large amount of semen that was found in the victim.
Yeah.
There was, now we're getting to going to California with a friend. One of our listeners, mentioned that Collins may have very well dated the victim. Okay.
Right.
There is a bunch of loose ends coming here, but one thing is now going to come into focus when we get into our next episode, and it is this. He goes to California. He comes back from California, and the time that he is in California, another victim, and they are really, really sure. We don't want to get too far in it, but it is John Norman Collins. So, there you go. We don't want to get too far on that one, but I do want to say this, you're in here with Alice, and you got the situation was, everybody says things are developing in this one. This is now the second person shot with the 22.
Yeah.
Okay. If you go back, and we'll have a link for it, and listen to the last episode, she's dressed flamboyant, for no better word. And yet I don't know if they ever got a definitive answer of where she was last.
I don't think so either.
Okay. So there's a lot going on there, but really what our listeners need to focus at is he's about to go to California. And it makes you wonder, I'm just being honest, how many other trips he made. So that's what we got. Anything you want to add on that?
No, I think that'll do it for this episode.
Okay, everybody, hit like and subscribe. Be back next time. We're going to go deeper into this California trick. And as I said, hit like, subscribe, check down the links there. It'll help with you. And we will see you soon. And until then,
See ya.